foil. So we've got 4 big matches coming up with some great fencers, a lot of foil, all the foil action you could want. And I'm here joined by Mr. Peter Bouchard. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much, Serge.
Peter is a foil expert. He's a fencing master. He's president of USA Fencing. He coaches out of a club in San Francisco, California, former president of the USA Coaches Commission and Coaches Association, and someone who's going to give us a lot of technical insight to what we're seeing on the strip tonight. And welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much, Serge. Here we see Ukraine on your right and Romania on the left. Romania, Ms. Corbu makes an attack, parried by Ms. Budenko of the Ukraine, and the riposte is valid, 1-0.
So we're going to be going to 45 points. We have up to 45 points. We've got 9 rounds, 3 fencers on each side with an alternate in addition to that, but we've got essentially 3 fencers. So 3 fencers on each side, fence 3 fencers, 3 fencers on one side, fence 3 fencers on the other side, and it's a round robin. So 3 times 3 is 9. That's 9 matches, 5 points, up to 5 points each, unless they time out. So at the end, if you hit 45 points first, you win, or if you are at the, if you're in the lead at the end of those 9 periods, then you win.
It was a pretty disengaged attack by Corbu of Romania to tie it up. They're just sort of feeling each other out right now. The attack from the left hits off target. That means there's no touch scored, but it stops the action. I think they're fencing super close together. I'm very surprised. And counter parry riposte is off target from the right, and then the last, when the colored light came on, it did not have the right of way, or did not have priority, was not initiated correctly. And here we have a remise, kind of wiggled and turned out of the way, so Ukraine able to score. A lot of blade exchanges here, something we haven't really seen a lot of. Mostly it's been absence of blade. And Corbu push, 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 and Budenko does an attack in preparation and scores. Ukraine leads 3-1.
And if you're not familiar with fencing, if you're new to it, a lot of you out there know fencing, and we always try to give a little bit of an introduction to fencing, just in case you're new to it or don't understand something about it. And essentially, we have 3 weapons in fencing: epee, foil, and saber. We did 3 days of saber here in junior. Now we're doing foil. Now we're doing foil. And the objective here is for each fencer to hit the other fencer with the point of their blade on the gray vest that they're wearing. So if they hit on the legs, the arms, the head, it's off target. It doesn't count. It does stop the action, and we get a white light with it. But we're trying to hit the torso. And you'll see a red and a green light go off when you hit the torso, 1 for each side. It doesn't mean anything different than that. And if both lights go off at the same time, then we have a situation where the referee has to make a subjective call as to who got the touch.
In this case, the attack was only 1 light, so it was obvious that Romania got that touch.
Yeah, so if it's a single light, it's clear. The person on that side got that point. It means that the Romanian girl hit the other girl and got the point. If they both go off, though, then we have to talk about what's called right of way.
And it means essentially that a person initiates an action. So here we found that the attack was parried by Dinca, then Dinca made the riposte or the return thrust, and Poloziuk did the counter parry riposte and scored, putting Ukraine ahead 5-3 as the next segment comes up. And as Serge mentioned, each fencer fences each fencer from the other team once for 5 touches over a period of 3 minutes.
And you know, as we were talking about earlier in the semifinals, you know, the whole idea behind team is a little bit of a different mental strategy than individual fencing. So because you've got a lineup of people on each side with different strengths, fencing another group of people with different strengths. So you're always playing the game of, okay, you know, where are we? Are we ahead? Are we behind? How strong is our fencer versus the fencer they're coming up against? Sometimes you want your fencer to hold the line. Sometimes you want them to go strong. And so there's a lot of active coaching that goes on that gets involved in team, where a coach becomes a real strategist.
That's right. And here we have a difference in size. We have the Ms. Poloziuk so much taller than Ms. Dinca, trying to hold off, and Ms. Dinca trying to get inside and get close enough to hit. There was a controversial call. That is to say, I mean, not controversial in the referee's mind, but each fencer is allowed a video replay every segment. If their challenge is upheld, they get to retain that replay. And now we're waiting for the referees. There are 2 referees in each match, one at the video machine and one stands in front of the strip, and it's called the strip ref. Our 2 referees, Andreea Corbu and Rail Nagimov.
And we'll try to give you a little bit of background on some of these fencers.
So this time the challenge was upheld, and the touch was awarded to the Ukraine. So the Ukraine retains that challenge. Here we had the Romanian attack into the movement of, the Romanian attack into Poloziuk, and her foot got underneath the other one. So unfortunately, she suffered a little bit of an injury, and doesn't look too bad, but I think maybe we need a little attention. And she called for some kind of medical attention, I think.
They might be bringing out the magic spray.
Ah, the magic spray. Oh, here we go. This looks like the Romanian medical person with.
That's actually the one of the members of the FIE Medical Commission. She's a French doctor.
Wow, look at that. I say you get extra good care out here at the Junior Cadet World Championships. There's the magic spray. You called it. It makes everything go away.
It's not a hard call. It's pretty predictable.
That's right. Oh, look, she's miraculously fine.
Miss Dinca, Andreea Dinca, came in 48th the other day in the junior individual competition.
Poloziuk in the last one took the initiative by contacting the blade of Dinca and attacked, even though Dinca was moving forward, and scored.
Poloziuk was 11th the other night. So
she's pretty good. I watched her in the last match. I was very impressed. She's pushing her down. You're going to use your height here. She's hiding the blade, holding it back, and boom! That long line.
She is tall. She looks like an épée fencer.
Now.
Maybe she should switch over.
Yep, so one more time, Poloziuk was able to grab the blade and take the priority from Dinca and score. And then this last one, as Dinca comes, starts sort of preparing, as we say, preparing to hit, Poloziuk takes the initiative and makes the attack and scores. So 9-3 Ukraine. They want this bronze medal. Poloziuk keeping perfect distance and daring her to come, and then over the top, hit off target.
And you know, of course, foil is interesting because foil is the traditional training weapon. I mean, it used to be that everyone, I did this and you probably did, Peter, everyone starts in foil, right? Yep, and then goes, sometimes migrates to other weapons, sometimes stays in foil, right? So, but today it's changed a little bit. Sometimes we'll start kids in saber or épée, but you know, for many, many, many years, that was the tradition. You start in foil.
And Poloziuk makes that final touch to make it 10, but her blade came out a little worse for wear. I call it the golf club effect. The thing is bent at a 90-degree angle, and looks like the days are numbered for that blade.
Going to the third round here, going to 9 total. If you look at the scoreboard there, you'll see right above the time 3/9. That means we're in the third of 9 rounds. Olga Sopit of Ukraine came in 6th the other night in individual competition.
Yeah.
Strong fencer.
Kateryna Vasile for the Romanian team.
Yep.
And look at the difference in styles here. The Romanian team has a very thin and lithe fencer, holding it off in real traditional form.
Vasile was 26th the other night. So all these girls, you know, they've had a day of rest from the junior individual competition the other night. So they've had a day yesterday to take it easy. And the way the pandemic protocol is right now, normally you would have, on the non-pandemic times, what would happen is the juniors would stay and hang out and watch their cadet teammates and counterparts fence and cheer them on. Here, the rule is once you've been eliminated, you leave. So in the earlier in the elimination rounds, if you got eliminated, you had to go back to your hotel. And if you're not fencing, you cannot be here. So, you know, it's a different type of situation. We don't have a live audience here, even of teammates and, you know, kids coming who are traveling with you who are fencing other events or other weapons. So that's a completely different mentality to fence with.
Yeah, so I think that's the COVID protocol you're talking about. Here we just saw Sopit miss her attack and got hit on the counterattack by Vasile. But despite that, Ukraine is up by 6.
We were talking about the other night about maybe having a soundtrack of applause like they have for the cheering, like they have for the NFL for U.S. football when in the stands. What do you think? What do you think? How do you think that would be if we had live cheering or sort of recorded cheering played live in the stadium?
I think it's a great idea. I don't see it or hear it.
I wonder what they're going to do for the Olympic Games. I think we'll have some spectators.
That could be a good
There'll be
question.
Japanese spectators.
Only Japanese, from my understanding. Okay, here we have an attack from the left into preparation, hit off target, so no score. Even though there was a colored light from the right, it doesn't count because it didn't have priority, or what we call right of way. Vasile pushing, the parry, the end of the attack by Sopit. And Sopit pushing for the Ukraine, pushing, trying to provoke something, pushing, and attack is off target. No good. Still 12-5. Remember, these segments go 3 minutes or 5 touches. And the clock is ticking down. They look content to leave it like this. It looks like Sopit doesn't have confidence that she can bring it back. She just wants to try to stay away and keep the deficit at 7. Attack off target, which is probably okay, judging by the body language there for Sopit. Happy with the 7-touch deficit. Not deficit, but the lead. 7-touch lead. And push. She's trying to provoke something, so she might get a touch, but if she doesn't, it's fine. They're letting the clock run. And attack misses, so see, she thought she had a good chance, but she missed, and the counterattack by Vasile scored, so now it's down to 6 touches. And as Vasile advances, Sopit captures the blade and goes. 13-6, attacking preparation.
And as we were talking about earlier, only 1 bronze medal goes out to team matches.
Remi's off target, hit the arm there.
In individual, we give out 2 bronze medals. In team, we give out 1. So that's why these girls are fencing to fence for the bronze medal.
Yeah, the loser goes home empty-handed after all that work and all that great fencing.
Well, they get a ranking out of it. They get a.
That's true. That's true for sure.
So to make it to the 4th place is
Pretty darn
not
good.
a medal, but you get points that will help position you for future competition.
Agreed. World ranking. You're right about that. Now here we had a situation where the Ukraine ran the clock so much that we never even got to 15. So our next segment goes to 20. So
And that's quite common in foil. I mean, you don't
Especially
see that
women's
at all
foil.
in saber,
especially in women's foil.
especially in women's foil.
Yes.
Well, that's why they give women's foil, I think, an extra 10 or 15 minutes of time for the entire match when they schedule everything, because it takes the longest of any of the events. When you count the off targets and the video calls and just in fact, last night in cadet foil, I don't know if you watched it, but we had in one bout, we had 2 passivity calls, which is unusual.
It is unusual. I think women's foil, you'll see that more. But the passivity means that for an entire minute, no one puts a light on. No one scores even off target. And that's.
And they did it twice in one bout, these girls.
Oh, my goodness. And so what
we
happened?
we were already in the second period, and the score was like 2-1 or 1-1.
And so you get the result of that is whoever is behind is awarded, penalized by what's called a yellow card or a warning. If that happens again, which it sounds like it did, the person that's behind gets a red card.
And they both did.
So if it was tied, then they both get a red card.
That's what happened.
Okay. They just didn't want to fence each other. So I like to joke that our sport is the only one where you have to sanction them to participate.
That is kind of true.
And here we have an electronic failure by the body cord, which is underneath the clothing, and it makes the electronic scoring work. So we're changing it real fast.
On Miss Budenko.
Yeah, so we've had a change of fencers. We've seen Miss Dinca on the left before, and we've seen Miss Budenko, who was the leadoff for Ukraine, on the right before.
She was 10th in the juniors the other night, Miss Budenko.
It was supposed to be fast, but now she's lost her plug, like way up her sleeve.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
So best laid plans of mice and men, and the referee has to assist getting that plug out there. I think the job description of the referee just changed. Looks like things just disintegrated inside the uniform. Okay, anyway, we'll get back to the action real fast. Meanwhile, what's happening on the other strips? At the same time, we have the
placement matches.
Placement matches, exactly, for 5th and 7th. Okay, here we're ready to go. And we have a yellow card, which means that for equipment failure, at least twice. So there's a yellow card for Budenko. Should there be another violation like that, a red card will result in a point for the opponent. And Ms. Budenko chases her down with the blade and hits. Attack is good. 14-6. Remember, going for 20 here. This is the 4th segment. Remise off target. And the blade needs to get straightened, as you can see.
Yeah, the Ukrainian team, the 3 girls, Sopit, Budenko, and Petrova, all were in the top 16. So actually, Petrova was 12th. That was the lowest. So they all did quite well in junior.
So that they've taken Petrova out and put her in the substitute spot, and they're fencing Budenko. I don't think she was in our match before. Petrova's not listed. Her repos. And the attack is short, and the attack is good. We call that repost by distance, as it were. So you get out of the way and make them fall short, and then you get to go. By the way, that's not a technical term. It's not a proper term. It's just kind of in the vernacular, if you will. So it's really just attack short, attack good. And the parry repost, the body cord like fell out of the weapon, so that's why the light went off. There was no actual touching of the target there. The miracles of technology. So fencing was electrified. The foil, the first Olympics were 1956, and the first electric epee was in 36, and the saber not till very, very late in the 20th century. But now everything's electric, and it's much more, it's made things much fairer, it's not so political, and it's a great, great thing for fencing is the development of it. Here we saw parry repost by Budenko, putting the score to 17. Remember, going all the way to 20. So Dinca can bring the score up, but it doesn't look like it's a tough task against the Budenko here. She hit on the leg here off target.
Pronouncing these two names is quite similar. They're pretty close.
That's right.
Especially we're talking with masks on.
Yep, COVID protocol. And the attack misses, and Dinca jumps inside and is able to score. Chasing her down, but parry to repose off target. No touch for all that work. Down to 104 in this segment. Will they reach 20? Attack is off target. The colored light did not have priority, or the right of way.
And you know, in reality, it's not a big priority for them if they reach 20. It's not like they have to.
That's right.
You know, they just care that they're ahead.
And they are by 10 points. They're in really good shape. By the way, just to explain, the yellow card will go away when the fencers change. It only lasts for this segment.
Is there any situation where you can get a card for the whole team?
It's usually no, actually.
Stump the coach time.
Yeah, exactly. Can't remember exactly, which is embarrassing. I remember there used to be a way to do it.
What about the coach? Can the coach get a penalty card?
That is the way to do it. And also, like, if the captain runs out and screams and yells or something like that. And
not that would ever happen in fencing.
Are you kidding? But that can happen. And then the team gets it. It lasts the whole match for everybody.
I see.
Yeah.
And so that means that if they get a yellow card, because then any time one of the fencers gets another yellow card, then it's a red card?
Yep. So parry repost, good. So this is different than individual. The individual fencer is not penalized for the coach's antics, but just the coaches, and they can be sent home from the venue if they become too unruly. Yeah. But,
or at least sent out of the venue, which usually they stand at the door and stare in. That's what they used to do.
That's true too. But anyway, the captain of the team or the coach of the team or something is part of the team, so therefore the team will suffer if these antics happen. And close quarters, what we call infighting. Here we see Dinca scoring not scoring, but hitting the legs on Nota, and we're getting down below 10 seconds. We're not going to reach 20, and done.
That's it.
9 touches.
On to the fifth round. So we have Emilia Corbu of Romania against Olga Sopit. We already talked about Miss Sopit. And Miss Corbu came in 43rd the other night the other day in junior women's individual foil.
I think the Romanians are tough. Like, they're not showing that they're so as the Ukrainians, but I just have been very impressed throughout the tournament of the Romanian contingent, honestly. For a small country, they're really tough.
Well, yeah, the Romanians have produced some incredible epeists.
There's a parry repost good for the Romanian. Yeah, well,
like
all
Andreea
weapons.
Popescu.
That's true. Yeah, more recently, so 1968 Olympic champion Jan Drimba from Romania in Mexico City. And there was a great saber finisher named Pop. They've had all three of them. They're just
Jan Pop?
One of the
Jan
great.
Pop, I worked with him for years in the FIE.
There you go. Well, the Romanians have had great fencers all the way along, and this is no exception right here. The juniors coming up, they're going to take over for the established fencers. I remember there was Badea, a great women's foil fencer, world champion. So the call was made for Corbu, but Sopit is not happy with that, asked for video review.
You can see it right here on the slow motion.
And the attack is coming. And the argument for Sopit will be that the attack never really started. But the referee disagrees and gave it to, upheld his original call. Sopit's putting the blade like out of reach, or hiding the blade, as we say. Corbu's getting close enough to get the blade. Every time she beats the blade, she is sort of reiterates her right of way. And you can see the amazing athletic ability there with.
So Peter, you're seeing a lot of situations here where fencers are getting backed into the
2 meters
warning
zone.
area,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
So explain to our audience how that works.
Sure. So at the end of either end of the fencing piece or strip, there is a section of 2 meters long and 2 meters. So it's a square basically, and it must be by rule a different color or somehow marked so that people can see it out of the corner of their eye. They're in there, and if they go off the end past that zone with both feet, it's a point for the other one. So when they get down there, they don't want to go back anymore. So they do all kinds of crazy things like to alleviate that. So we saw before where Sopit leaned back on her back knee and kind of removed her target, but then kept her front leg extended so she stayed on the strip.
So if you go off the side of the strip normally, and you step off the strip, that just stops the action, and you don't get a penalty for that.
That's right. You lose a meter. That's the penalty. Right. You lose ground.
Right. But if you go off the side of the strip in the warning area at the side, do you lose a point then, or do you just lose that? What happens then? Do you also lose a point then?
Unless you are in the last meter, then you're pushed off by losing that 1 meter. Otherwise, it really is of no consequence.
So if you step off to the side, you don't lose a point.
No, you lose a meter.
You lose a meter.
Right. So if you do that way down in the zone,
it just forces you then a meter beyond, which then by default gives you a point.
It could happen, yeah, as I say, but no one's going to do that. I'm just saying. They've learned that by now. But yeah, that can happen.
Got it.
Yeah. And the attack continues, and Sopit tried to fake her out a little bit, but she didn't bite, and she finished, Corbu did, and scored with the attack. We're going to 25, I think? Yeah, the fifth. Yeah, we're going to 25. And still got a...
which we won't make, because we're only at 30 right now. So
yeah, 9-point advantage. So the Ukrainians are keeping their gap, keeping their lead.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, in 5 rounds they've scored 11 points. That's...
Yeah, I mean, the Ukrainians are tough to hit, man. They're tough to hit.
5 pool matches with
yeah.
the basically the number you have in 2.
they're good down at their own end and stuff. That was funny, man. She hit, and the blade even bent and stuff, but the spring-loaded point did not depress enough to make the leg go off.
Probably because it hit flat.
Yep.
So if it hits kind of if you sort of slap it and it hits along the side of it, it's not going to depress the little plunger enough to break the contact and create the buzzer going off.
That's correct. So both the foil and the epee have spring-loaded points, and the saber doesn't have a point, and you hit often with the side of the blade.
But just electrically,
yep.
if you're an electrician or an electrical engineer out there, with the foil, when you plunge it, it breaks the circuit, whereas in epee, when you plunge it, it closes the circuit.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
There's 2 wires in the epee that go to the tip and 1 that go in the foil.
Right, so there's 3 poles in each one. There's the grounding circuit in the epee, and then, as you say, 2 wires, and if you put the point down, it connects them. Those attack by Corbu with another point for them. And so that's how you get a touch. And then the third pole is the ground. So that if you hit the weapon, no light goes off. If you hit the ground, no light goes off. That's why we have a metallic strip here. By the way, I just wanted to mention, you were talking about going off the side. This strip is extra wide, and the lines that you see, the perimeter lines, if you step off that, you're actually off the strip, which is something that isn't true on the floor out there. But since it's raised, they want to give a person like
a little bit of wiggle room so they don't fall off.
Precisely. Yeah,
Seen that happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And there is a little bit of there is some flexibility in terms of the width of a strip that you can create, and so sometimes you'll see more narrow strips in clubs or pistes in clubs. But we, in FIA World Competition, we have the maximum amount allowed.
Yes. As it should be.
And it's a different kind of, if you've been used to training on a narrow strip and you go to one of these wide strips, it's a different experience. Yep. All of a sudden you have this lateral area you can move in that you didn't have before. And if you're fencing someone who's accustomed to that, they can use it against you.
That's true. And it often is a factor lefty-righty. Like a lot of times the lefties will hug the side of the strip so you can't hit on the outside. So they cover their back because they're so far against the strip that you can't hit them around there. You got to go straight into their strongest
Which is why lefties hate fencing lefties.
Exactly. And here we see Poloziuk hiding the blade and finally finishing, but missing.
Nice.
And
nice
Vasile was able to jump inside and score a touch. And
so we're in the 6th round here of junior women's team foil at the Junior and Cadet Fencing World Championships.
And we'll be going to 30 touches if we get there.
So this is the bronze medal match. After this, we'll see the bronze match for the men, followed by the gold medal matches for women and then men. So still
got it down to
early.
8 touches.
We're in the first of 4 medal rounds. And this is the last day of foil. Tomorrow we start with epee. We'll have junior individual epee for men and women tomorrow, followed by cadet on Saturday and team on Sunday. And that will be the finish of the World Championships. 9 full days, 18 events.
Pretty amazing how they pulled it off, I have to say. Got to give the Egyptian Federation and President El Husseini a lot of credit.
The Egyptians have been great. They've been wonderful. They're always wonderful hosts. Every time I've been to Cairo, they've really, really gone out of their way to make you feel at home and do everything they can to make it work.
Here we did last touch was a real nice parry repost by Poloziuk coming over the top. And looks like Vasile got hit off target there on the leg, but she just rubs it out. She doesn't care. She's tough.
One of our staff members with the FIE took a great photo and video flying into Cairo over the pyramids, and you can see it. They flew right over them. It was a spectacular view. Such a cool place to be, and just to think that we're here in the cradle of civilization. Just a short cab ride to the pyramids.
Yeah. And just this week, I watched on TV, they transferred a bunch of mummies from one older museum to the brand new one. And it was like a national event.
It was a parade. Yeah,
it was
Saturday,
last
Saturday.
Yeah. So that, as you say, the cradle of civilization, and they take their role in the world there very seriously, and you know, it's very almost holy to them, the Egyptians.
Oh, it completely is.
Yeah.
We did a photo shoot years ago out at the pyramids. It was really fun. We had 2 kids basically fencing on the pyramid. They gave us special permission.
Super cool. Yeah, as I was going to say that, you know, they put each mummy in its own hearse, and it was a big, long parade. It was amazing. 22, I think.
This is the Mummies Parade, not the, for those Americans out there, the Mummers Parade, which is a different event on the East Coast.
Okay, back to fencing. The riposte missed like 3 times, and they just called halt. We're down to 105, 104, with the Ukrainians holding a 9-touch lead. There's an off-target riposte. The attack by Vasile was stopped with a parry, and the riposte hit on her arm or somewhere like that. Vasile wants to get another touch, but she's afraid maybe, or doesn't want to put everything at risk there. And the Ukrainians do a masterful job of holding that big lead.
That's all they have to do.
Yep. Just letting the clock run. Oh, an attack. Oh, just kind of surprised her. She had an attack the whole time, and boom, out she comes. So Poloziuk puts it back up to 10. Got to be discouraging for the Romanians.
She got it back.
Yeah, counterattack. Vasile scores there. So Poloziuk probably would be better advised just to hold her off at this point. It's down to 17 seconds.
And, you know, especially with younger fencers, I think that if you're in a situation where you're up against a pretty big lead against you, you know, it's a real task for a coach to keep their fencers motivated.
And time's up. Absolutely right.
You know, and keep out their fencing and keep their energy up. You know, you have to keep going. That's the nature of this sport.
So, you know, you hear coaches yell "courage" often, and you know, it's a warrior sport. It's a combat sport, and you really have to be daring and take risks and strategize and outsmart people. And you know, it's just a marvelous battle of wits. And then you use your own personal characteristics, like if you're fast, if you're strong, if you're tall and thin, if you're whatever it is that your personal skill set, you bring that and try to make strategy and tactics based on your own skill set. It's really fun to watch.
So 7th round, going to 9. So these are the last 3 rounds, and we are at 17-26 Romania against Ukraine. So we're getting into the last third of this encounter between Ukraine and Romania, and we will see where it takes us. But it's looking quite
nice one.
Hopeful for the Ukrainians.
Yes, indeed, especially after that last one, Dinca making a running attack, a flesh, as we say, and getting parried and running right into the point of Sopit on the riposte. So back to 10-point deficit. Dinca's forced to try to make something happen, and her blade got intercepted, beat attack in preparation by Sopit, which we've seen 3 times from her in all of the matches. Dinca just tried to do the same thing, but there wasn't enough distance to get her point up to the target, and she had off target. Very close together. I think Dinca needs to force the distance because she's not very tall. And remise of riposte to the leg. It's a battle out here. Up and reprise of riposte. Now they're starting to pull away even more. 29-17. There's the parry riposte that was short. Yeah, so we've got a little amendment to the question that Serge asked a little earlier, and that was, is it possible to have a card roll over? And that's another situation we mentioned, non-combativity, lasts for the whole match. So if you try to not fence, then and you get a card for that.
In a team event.
In a team event, exactly. In this event, it carries over. And thank you very much for the clarification. Attack was short, and attack was good. Pretty hopeless at this point. So it looks like the bronze medal is going to be in the pockets of the Ukrainians. Attacking the preparation, because Dinka's just got to make something happen, and it's not happening for her. You got to give her credit for trying. And Sopit holds her off at the point in line, and just letting the clock run. And there's a nice attack. She was able to track her down. But how long did it take to do? I mean, she might make one touch here or there, but in order to make up this whole deficit, it's pretty hopeless, I'd say.
Yeah, looking a little grim for the Romanians, but still, a fourth place is nothing to sneeze at.
And as you say, it puts, it changes the world ranking probably, and gives them some stature. This will be used in seeding for subsequent team events.
Right. But to be clear, this is the juniors. It's not the seniors, so it has no bearing on, for example, Olympic rank.
That's correct. But there are various team events throughout the year for juniors too. So.
Right, and a lot of these juniors are very active in the senior circuit. In fact, several of them are going to be fencing at the Olympics this summer.
Absolutely, and when you were talking about the juniors got a day of rest, well, some of these teams have some cadets on there too, so that's sort of the same thing.
Yes,
same thing actually applies to them. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, for those cadets, that's where youth plays an advantage, because they have to fence all 3 days, and if you're fencing all 3 days and you make it pretty far in the day, you're going to feel it by the time you're done.
That's for sure.
Even if you're only 15 years old. That's a lot of fencing.
Yep, and you can see these matches are grueling.
How would you say the environment is here? I mean, we're in a hot climate here in Cairo. It's it's really warm outside. But it seems like this venue is ventilated pretty nicely. It's a pretty comfortable temperature for fencing, wouldn't you say?
I would.
Yeah.
I've been places where it's like super hot or super cold. This is very well regulated. Once again, give credit to the organizing committee here in Cairo and President El Husseini for really thinking of everything, really.
Right. We're in the indoor halls complex of the Cairo International Stadium, and the building that we're in is a large indoor stadium. It's like a mini Astrodome or Superdome kind of environment where we have multiple tiers of circular stands and a big roof above us, and it's a large stadium, and it's just a little, I guess, sad to see that we don't have it filled with people because of the pandemic. But that's why this virtual audience out there is so important to us. So once again, thank you for tuning in on the FIE Fencing channel, because you are our audience.
Yeah,
you are the spectators.
I just miss like the cutouts. We should have, cutouts of all the great fencers from the past or something in the stands.
Yeah, all of them, back to 1896.
Yeah. I remember there's a Cuban fencer that won the gold medal and was hit during the entire day just 4 times, named Font.
Yeah, our sport has some legends, and it has a history to it. And it has evolved. It has evolved into, it has kept with the times. And of course, one of the exciting things is this summer at the Olympic Games, we will, for the first time ever, have gold medal events for all 12 events that we have. In the past, we got to 10. This is the first time we will be given all 3 weapons, team and individual, men and
both
women.
genders, right? Exactly.
Yep. And that's a remarkable accomplishment to get that.
It's super exciting for fencing. They're reluctant to give more medals than they already have for 2 cycles, and we like to give credit to the representative of fencing, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach from Germany, who pushed for that and has finally accomplished it.
Well, and the president of the International Fencing Federation, Mr. Alisher Uzmanov from Russia, that has been a very important initiative of his from the beginning, and he has accomplished that to his credit. And
absolutely,
so we are very fortunate to have that coming up this summer. It'll be very exciting to have all those events.
Mr. Uzmanov is from Russia, and he's the president of International Fencing Federation. Very, very instrumental in the success of our sport and the survival, frankly, during the pandemic. He's been very, very supportive and done a lot of creative solutions to the problems that we've had.
Right, and the Federation has been very generous to, waive certain fees and provide certain capabilities to keep it going. But, in addition to that, the fencers kept it going through social media. I mean, we had so much going on. We had coaches giving virtual fencing classes. We've had, fencers getting together and doing virtual tournaments. We've had all kinds of things to keep everybody in touch while they were essentially sitting at home riding their stationary bicycles, hoping for fencing to come back. But they stayed in tune with each other, and that's how we've been able to keep in touch. But it's very interesting. The other night, one of the gold medalists was saying that this tournament was the first she got a gold medal in, was the first competition she'd been in a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. And, you got to give a lot of, we like to call it the fencing family. Got to give a lot of credit to a lot of people who, it's a competitive sport, and everybody thinks that, they've got the secret and they're going to win because they do that. Well, during this pandemic, the generosity and the sharing had come out, and it really showed like a family. Like people didn't want another club to fail or to go bankrupt or whatever, and they've been sharing and supporting and stuff. So the pandemic has been a horrible situation for everyone, but it also has brought out some amazing characteristic and positive
and creativity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
innovation.
My goodness. How you give Zoom classes for 3 times a week for a year. You got to be pretty creative to keep people interested, and they have been.
We are a big family, and we've always known that, and it's paid off. And right now we're 40 seconds away from the end of the 8th round of 9. Ukraine leading 36-24 for the bronze medal in women's junior team foil.
That's 37 with a nice remise from the right. And essentially this segment is supposed to go to 40, and we might get there.
But at this point, I don't think that's a big objective for
Not at all.
Budenko.
No. But I think it's you got to give the Romanian team a lot of credit for keeping up the effort. They're not giving up. They're Vasile here. Look at those lunges. Look at the effort. I mean, that's really, really valiant. And it just goes to show you, the ethos of the effort and stuff, and the sport that we are.
Valiant. That's a good word.
Valiant is a great word, really. See, she, by golly, got another touch. Well, look at her strut back and forth. There you go. She's proud. I like it. Yeah, I think it's going to be ruled a remise off target from the right. But still, Vasile's not giving up. She's making every effort to put on a single light. And there she goes again, off target. As you point out, they're young teenagers, you know, and they're showing their training. So when they get to be seniors and make that Olympic team, they're going to have all that battle-tested, determination and stuff.
Right, and the ability to stay under control under pressure when the chips are down. Right?
I agree, and they have it under control. You don't see any crazy, vicious stuff with anything. They're just, valiantly, as you say.
You actually used the word. I just said it was a good word.
Thank you. But, yeah, I just am so impressed with all of these fencers. Here's our...
So we're in the final round. Poloziuk versus Corbu. Ukraine versus Romania. 3 minutes. Whoever is in the lead at the end of this or hits 45 wins and gets a bronze medal.
And now Corbu's asking for a review.
I think she was just...
Poloziuk put the head in the way? Yeah, I don't think she asked for video. That's true, you're right. She just asked to please watch for that.
She was making a statement.
Yep. You got to make the signal with your fingers, the square, in order to ask for a video review.
Right.
Look, parry goes to the leg. That remains. The riposte didn't quite get there. The big, tall girl outreaches her. These are impressive young women, I must say. And he'll close out in 4. Opposition counterattack. And he's looking at the replay. I don't know really what he's looking for, but the fencers are going back to their own guard lines. He's trying to find out if there's some violation. Oh, yeah, there was. Yellow card for the Ukrainian for some violation, probably covering the target or like obscuring the target with the head or... And the reprise of attack by Corbu hits. Look at her. She's 28-39, 11 touch deficit with only just under 2 minutes to try to tie or surpass the Ukraine. Looks unlikely.
I think there's a little bit of there's something psychological about hitting 40.
Yep, that's true.
Both in life and in
I
fencing.
was just going to say, man, it's in the rear view mirror for me, but. And there's 40. There you go. You said it. Nice long attack by Poloziuk. And stop it. And Corbu wants to find out if Poloziuk put the head in the way again. And no. The referee just gives the counterattack with opposition in favor of the Ukrainian team. And the attack hit off target. Changed weapons. She mangled it pretty well, so She's going to give it up there in favor of a different blade. She prefers. All these blades in these matches have been put through technical inspection, so there's no interruption with inspecting each one when they're changed. They're all ready to go and approved. There's quite a bit of infrastructure to these tournaments, and a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that no one sees. But that was a good attack again. And there's a pair of repos that misses and a remise, 29. I think there's a psychological happiness to getting 30 too.
Yes.
Post off target. And here we have that kind of acrobatic, leaving the foot on the end of the strip and leaning backwards to try to use distance to avoid. And there's a beautiful finish to the flank, which is kind of the ribs. And another point for the Ukraine. And a finish again for the Ukraine, but this time on top. And only one touch to go. And they will reach 45, it looks like to me. And there it is. An attack from the left is parried. A riposte is good. 45-29. Bronze medal to the Ukraine junior women's foil team. World Championship.
Yeah, bronze medal at the World Championships. All of those girls on that team will go home with a medal. And now we will be moving on. Next up will be the men's junior team foil competition for the bronze medal. And we'll be back in just a few minutes for their introduction and the start of the action. So stay with us here on the FIE Fencing channel at the Junior and Cadet Fencing World Championships live from Cairo, Egypt. Thanks for being here. We appreciate our virtual spectators and audience.
We'll be right back.
Ja, genau. Andreea, how you feel? What is about your test? What is about your test? Andreea, how you feel? I don't understand. How you feel?
Thank you for everything.
Yes. Now I am feeling well. Now, when I stand the button, thank you so much and good luck on everything. Always pleasure. Arno, we just reached the position. Arno, good luck on your test. Yes, Marjorie, sir.